And we're happy to be joined now on this sporting planet by Stacy Lewis, Solheim Cup captain for the United States. Talk about the Solheim Cup in general as it regards to the schedule on a whole on the year. Where does it
Mhm.
fit in and how does it rate with the other players?
Obviously the American players, European players, it is top of mind. It is I think you start thinking about the points, as soon as as one completes, it is our big event. It is the team you want to be a part of. You want to win that trophy. You don't want to be a part of a losing team. And we finally, I think it was great for the event that we finally won.
Right.
You don't ever want things to be too one-sided. So yeah, it was obviously it was great for us this year.
I think you played in your first Solheim Cup back in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. So you've got some good experience with the event. Why do you think it's grown in popularity so much over the last 4 or 5 years?
I just think it's so different from every other event you have, right? It's just different. It's not your normal golf. Your fans can go there and be loud. It's smaller, it's more intimate. There's not so many groups.
Right.
Everybody's in one place on the golf course. And I think that's a lot of it. I think anytime you're playing for your country, for continent, whatever you want to say, I think there's a pride to that and and it resonates with the fans. So we're continuing to try to grow it. I mean, still feel like I have to tell people it's the women's version of the Ryder Cup. So, we still got a ways to go in telling the world what the Solheim Cup is.
Speaking of that, do you have a much intertwining conversations with Keegan Bradley or anyone with the Ryder Cup? Hey, how do you do this? I mean, maybe you should be coaching him. You're a two-time winner.
I haven't had any conversation with him, but I was actually with Pat Bradley yesterday, and we talked about it a little bit. And I told her if Keegan wanted to talk or if he needed anything, I was there. So I do think I know. I even talked about leading into Spain, the possibility of playing and being a captain, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah, I think I could do it." And then after being the captain, there's no way in the world he can do it. There's so
There's so much
he's
to it, right? I mean, there's just
yeah.
so much to it.
There's way too much to it, and the decisions that have to be made, the things you're worrying about, and then trying to play good golf at the same time, like, I just don't think you can do that. And so I think at some point he's gonna have to make a choice and, either have a really good backup plan or take himself out of the mix.
As captain, though, how hard is it day in and day out when you look at players and you're obviously getting intel that people on the outside that are just watching go, why did they do that? Why did they put that pairing out there? But you're seeing things and you're getting a vibe from players. How much of that is gut instinct and just being a great golfer and a former number one ranked women's golfer in the world?
Well, I really dove into stats and tried to
Mhm.
get to know their games, and so I had the golf course set up a certain way, so I knew, in general, most of my team was gonna play pretty well in that golf course. There were a couple that, Andrea and Megan, it just wasn't really
Right.
set up for their games, but that's not to say they weren't gonna play well, that it just affected how you played them and where you played them and how much you played them. So it started there, but then as the week goes on, you gotta go with your gut. You gotta go with how people are playing, um, who pairs up well together, things like that. And if a pairing gets hot, I mean, we threw around some different pairings for Nelly, an alternate shot, but
Right.
until her and Allison lose, I don't think you can change it.
You talk about Nelly Korda, one of the hot young golfers for women's golf, especially in the U.S. Rose Zhang, some of the other ones, Lydia Ko. There's just so much good talent coming up. Why the resurgence? Does this all go back to Tiger Woods? We all blame Tiger for all this.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, even this age of kids, they might even be past that, which is crazy to think. But I think the talent level is off the charts, and the instruction that these kids are getting at a young age. I mean, the golf swings are so good now,
Yeah.
and you're seeing now a women's sport where you can go make a really good living doing this, and you don't have to be the number one player in the world to make a really good living. So I think there is an attraction to that, and I think parents see that when they're younger, as kids, of trying to get them into the game more, and hopefully we see, the girls golf, the young girls playing golf is the numbers are growing like crazy. So, and that's something that's 10 to 15 years down the line.
When you see the recent contracts that a Juan Soto gets for the New York Mets for $765 million, it's not the same, but when you were playing golf at the University of Arkansas, did you have in mind, I want to go golf, golf, golf because of the money, or it's just I just have a love for golf?
It was purely the love of the game. I saw it as an opportunity to do it as a job, and that was pretty enticing, of not having to go into work every day or
Yeah.
stress over emails or, things like that. It was a cool way to do a job and to do something I like and to be competitive. So it was more that. I mean, the money was when I started out, I was looking back, I think one year I had a really good year, made just over $2,000,000, but I had to play 28 events.
Oof.
And so now Nelly made, granted, she won 7 times, but
Right.
she played 15, 16 events and made over $4,000,000.
So half of what you did.
Yeah, doubled her money and played half of what I did,
So you're coming out
you
of
know?
retirement. Here we go. We're good.
I'm not quite done yet, but there's pluses and minuses though. I feel like I played in a great time and,
Yeah.
when things weren't so big and it was more of a family feel and it was, and we did a tremendous job of growing the tour. So, we just gotta get this generation to keep it going.
You look back though at some of the great names that came before you. Obviously, Annika Sorenstam, Julie Inkster. Who am I forgetting? Nancy Lopez. I mean, if you really want to go back, Babe Saharis. If you looked at what they were going through and what they were playing, the courses, the payments, all that stuff, to what a Nelly Corda is, it is just astronomical. The growth.
Oh, yeah, you go back, we've been around now 75 years, and just that in alone, I don't know if there's any other women's sports organizations that have been around for 75 years, so we've been the leader in this for a long time, and we're trying to continue that of making sure we're one of the leading women's sports organizations, and, how can we keep pushing forward, and, we gotta get more TV and get more exposure for our players, that's kind of the next step to take us to the next level.
I think golf, and this is just from a personal opinion, I think golf is one of those sports that translates so well, whether it's men or women. You appreciate a good swing. You know, someone could just flat out play. And when I watched Nelly Corda and Rosang, it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I could play as good as them. It might not be the case, obviously, with maybe basketball or soccer, but golf definitely is that way,
Yeah, and the women's game, your typical amateur can relate to so much more of
right?
the swing speeds and
Yeah,
the shots that they're seeing and trying to hit. I can't even relate to the men's game. The shots that these guys are hitting and
ridiculous.
the length that they're hitting it. It's not even relatable.
Yeah. For me, it's more consistency and placement. I mean, they're just all so consistent. Their placement is amazing. Changing subjects just a little bit, the growth of golf, and we were talking about it just a moment ago, but the growth in golf, especially in Asia, it seems to be just booming. It's just waking the sleeping giant kind of thing, where they are coming on in such young talent at such young age coming up. Is that the new hotbed for women's golf?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's been there for a long time. I just don't think people have quite realized it. But I do think, our going to play in Asia all these years has helped that talent kind of grow and foster. You look at all the Thai players, that is purely a result of the tournament that we have in Thailand and the exposure that they're given to the LPGA. And then the government is now putting money into growing those golf programs and giving those kids access. And so you're seeing it around the world, even in Europe. The money that's, put into these federations to grow the players that are coming out there. You look at Q School they're trying to finish today with the weather, but Japan, Korea, tons of Europeans. That's what you see, and that's where I think, yes, we have this national team now with the United States through the USGA, but we're still missing the mark and how we're growing our American athletes.
Happy to be joined by Stacy Lewis, Solheim Cup captain here on this sporting planet. Stacy, as you look at golf as a whole, both men's and women's, sky's the limit. I mean, we're seeing payouts just keep getting bigger and bigger. Tournaments, the ratings on television seem to keep getting bigger and bigger. Even with the fracture with the PGA and Live Golf, is golf on a whole in a good place?
Um, that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't think I Probably not, to be honest. I think what's happened in men's golf has kind of trickled down to women's golf a little bit, and people aren't watching the way they used to. This fracture that's happened between LIV and the PGA Tour hasn't been healthy for the sport, I
Right.
don't think. How they get back together, I have no idea. Um, you have those guys take so much money, I just don't know how you come back from that, but I think overall we gotta find a way to get more people to watch this game, because we're not I don't think we're where we need to be. So it's, the game has to be played faster. We gotta find a way to modernize the game similar to what baseball has done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's in a good spot, but I think, there's a lot of room for growth.
When you look at the future for you, obviously coaching is I guess in the family. Your husband's also the coach, if I'm not mistaken, at Texas A&M.
Mhm. He
Is that
is,
tough for you,
yes.
as a former Razorback, to be cheering on the
It's
Aggies?
It's impossible, yes. I'm a big supporter of the A&M women's golf team, but outside of that, I have a lot of trouble, I'm not gonna lie.
The Razorbacks and the Aggies do not get along too well.
No, no.
No. Oh, that's amazing. Now, as far as you go, the Solheim Cup and your captaincy, does that stay in perpetuity as long as you want it? It's yours?
No, I mean, we actually have a call in a couple weeks to kinda figure out what we're doing next and where we're gonna go. I mean, if I was asked, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I loved every bit of it, getting to spend the time with the players and getting to know them the way I did, and was it stressful? Was it a lot of work? Yes, but, those 2 weeks have been 2 of the most fun weeks of my golf career, so we'll figure it out in about a month or so. They gave Julie a 3rd one, but, I don't know, we'll see. I mean, part of what I was trying to do was, to have some assistants ready to come
Right.
into that role, and because that was something in the past, we never really required someone to be an assistant prior to being a
Right.
captain, which is mind-boggling to me. So I was trying to get some people ready kinda in line to do it
Which
next.
would make the transition 100% smoother, right?
Smoother on the players, smoother on everybody.
Yeah.
I do think, look at like Angela has now done 3, Morgan's done 2. I just think it's a really eye-opening. Paula did it for the first time this year, and she's kinda said to me, "I have no idea that this much went into this." And so, there's a lot that you don't see as a player, so you need to
Yeah.
see it from the other side.
General golf questions as a fan, favorite places to play? I mean, obviously you've had success at Robert Trent Jones, but I remember you won the British Open, what, in 2013, so, the UK's gotta be a nice place for you to play.
It is, I love links golf. St. Andrews will probably be my favorite place in the world, on a golf course, just the history and the success, obviously, that I had
Yeah.
there helped, but I love going to, Australia, those sandbelt courses that kinda play that same way, that linksy
Mhm.
golf where you can be a little bit more creative, and it's not the same thing every day.
And stateside, where do you like to play? Are you a Pinehurst player? Are you,
Mm.
get me out to Pebble Beach?
Warm, so not Pebble.
Ah.
Pebble. It is too cold. It is too cold there for me. So I love Pinehurst.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a favorite in the United States, but I've gotten to play Augusta a couple of times, so that's a pretty cool place too. But the history of the game is really important to me as well.
And then last 2 questions, and we'll get you out of here. For the youth that are coming up now, what's the most important thing as a coach, as a captain, that you would tell parents who are, trying to get their kids into a great sport like golf, in the future? Obviously, you're not gonna be the next Tiger Woods, be the first you, but what is your advice to kids coming up into golf or getting involved in golf, initially?
Well, continue to play other sports. I think we're specializing way too young. So play a bunch of sports, be a great athlete. That's what you're seeing in a lot of these players now, especially more, probably even more so on the men's side than the women's, is they're just great athletes. And
Right.
so play a lot of different sports, have fun with it. They've got to enjoy wanting to go out there every day. So find a way to make it fun. But I think something that there's gotta be some resiliency in people, and there's gotta be this drive to work hard. Once you get beyond that initial of, like, getting into the game, it's kinda being lost today a little bit, is sometimes it just takes going out there and working really hard. It doesn't matter how many contracts or how many sponsors you have, you gotta go out there and put the work in and have a great work ethic.
I gotta push back a little bit. I'm a former baseball player. It has ruined my golf game. Everything feels like I'm in a batting cage and it's pushed to the right. How do I
That's true.
fix
Now
it?
No, well, not baseball and golf, but you can play golf and you can play soccer and you could play, for girls, do some gymnastics, do
Yeah,
some tumbling, things that just build some general strength but yeah, I mean, find out, do a bunch of things to figure out what you love.
yeah. And then lastly, and we'll get you out on this one, as you look towards 2025, what would you like to see have happen, especially with women's golf, but golf in general? Is it the unification of PGA Live? Is it more television? What is your on your wish list for 2025?
It has to be played faster. Would love to see, I think, more aggressive policies, but also some recognition with the players of, hey, we got to get more people to watch us play. So let's figure out a way to play faster. And then the TV, I think, especially for the women's game, we got to find a place where, whether it's Golf Channel or whether it's somewhere else, we got to find a place where people can watch us consistently and watch us a lot and get to know our players better.
She is Stacy Lewis, the Solheim Cup captain, former number one ranked golfer, and proud Arkansas Razorback. Stacy, thanks for joining us on this Sporting Planet.
Awesome. Thank you.